Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com. Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5.
What up? What up? Appreciate the sound effects, babe. Yeah.
I was ready.
So, welcome to Laugh Therapy, where we elevate your. Oh, we got the sound effects.
We in here.
Yeah. We got the engineer today. We appreciate you, E. So welcome to Laugh Therapy, where we elevate your mood and your mental one laugh at a time. So today's discussion is going to be over a trigger warning as we dive into surviving trauma, including domestic abuse, narcissistic abuse, and sexual abuse. We'll explore the grief process and how to make better choices in partners and in friends. Let's navigate these tough topics together while we have compassion and, of course, a touch of humor to lighten the load.
Yep, get your giggles up.
You know, it's JD, a.k.a. Sunshine, and we have our beautiful host,
King Me Comedy, your favorite comedian in the building. Y'all already know.
So today, baby's back in Texas. She has some shows, so she killing the mic. So if y'all are in the San Antonio, Austin area, y'all got to check her out. When's your next show?
Tonight, 7:30 at Upstage Comedy Lounge.
Yeah,
San
Upstage
Antonio,
Comedy
Texas.
Lounge. So if any of our listeners are in San Antonio, y'all go ahead and check my baby out. She is funny as
I'm funny as fuck.
All right, so we are both excited about today's topic. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. So what are the initial steps in acknowledging and accepting trauma from domestic violence or any type of trauma?
I think admittance, like literally just the step of acknowledging it. And I know that's the question, how do you acknowledge it? But I feel like in the moment, we automatically go into almost a form of doubt. Like, there's no way that just happened, or there's no way this is happening to me, or there's no way they'll do that again. There's just this automatic in your mind where you're like, that's not what just happened. And I feel like the first step is swallowing that and understanding, yes, that is what happened, and now what do we do about it? I feel like it's easier to just go, whoa, that was shocking, that was hurtful, and then try and find or reason with it, whether it be, well, what did I do to deserve it, or I may have provoked them, or automatically blaming them. They were crazy, instead of recognizing that they may have had a limit as well. Like, there's all of these different things that happen without actually just acknowledging, hey, this is not okay. No matter what the reasoning, no matter how much you provoked someone, no matter how much this situation was not okay. And I feel like I'm kind of talking to myself too, because I'm quick to be like, and I'll pop you in your fucking face. not domestically, like in a relationship, but just like when people start to playing with me, I'm quick to be like, this is the answer, right? Like, this is the answer. But for someone who is trying to recover, someone who is going through a grief process of being the victim in these type of situations, I think it's important to acknowledge that you are a victim and that something happened. Sometimes we try and be superwoman or superman and say, like, that didn't happen to you, or it didn't hurt that bad, or you didn't need, stitches, or, it wasn't that big of a deal. It is a big deal. It is a big deal every time. There shouldn't have been a second time, but there definitely shouldn't have been a first, but it is important to acknowledge that initial, that this is wrong in the first place. That's the first step, in my opinion.
Well, just to kind of elaborate, because that last part that you said is realizing that what you went through is trauma. I think in some instances we don't realize that some of the things that we went through is trauma, because it could be generational cycles that have not been recognized, or you have lived in this toxicity, like when it comes to intimate relationships. You could have seen that from other people and you think that shit is normal, like running up in your partner's face, and squaring up with them, because back in the day I had friends that did that squared up with they significant others, and not realizing that shit is traumatizing. So I think that is the first step, is realizing that what you went through is actually trauma and it's not normal. And especially for me, that is one thing that I had to sit with, is because I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't know it was trauma. And I had to acknowledge that what I went through was actually trauma. Like, it just wasn't some fucked up shit. It was trauma. So I think that is the first part of it, is realizing that what you went through is trauma, and it's just not, it's just a part of life. No,
Yeah.
a lot of what, a lot of things that we have went through, we don't realize that, no, it's not a part of life. And if it is, it shouldn't be. Ayana and Keely are commenting. Ayana said, I think people should know that things that happen to them is wrong. So how is one supposed to realize that it's wrong? Usually that this happens when you are young, but that it doesn't happen all of the time. So yeah, she basically is surmising what I said. I can't see what Keely said.
I think when it comes to sexual trauma in particular, that is true. I think when it comes to domestic violence trauma, I think it's different, because I feel like immediately that it's wrong in your relationship. It's usually a drastic change. Like, this is a completely different human that you're dealing with now. Because it's small steps. It starts as like control, or it starts as them just trying to get you to change things about the way that you think. Once they can get you to doubt yourself, then that's when the monster comes out that can put his hands on you, because now you're already doubting your decisions and yourself and what you've done and how you could have made it better. Now he's escalated to this point. What did I do? So it's a stepping stone and stepping process when it's a domestic situation. In most cases, I won't speak for everyone, but it's immediate that you know that this is fucked up. But it's also an acceptance in your head. It's whether or not you're going to accept it in that moment.
Because that can be a slippery slope.
Exactly.
It'll never happen again, baby. It'll never happen again. Nah, I can't trust that player. I can't trust that.
So for some women, they accept and okay, this will never happen again. And they continue to accept that he's sorry and he's working on himself and continue to take that abuse. And then you have the opposite side, which were women like me who were like, I'm not going to be the only victim. And both of us about to leave here. We're not.
And y'all just sitting there traumatizing each other.
Right. And we both sitting in the living room in this glass, like, so you done? Or
because I got a round 3 of you, baby.
Exactly.
Just traumatizing each other.
I don't get tired. You feel me? So you have different ways that people can respond to that. So yeah.
And Keely said something also. Can you slide that over real quick? Keely said, so true. I didn't know some of the things I went through was as traumatic as it was until I started talking to other people about it and saw their reaction. Right. Because you
bring it up like it's normal. And somebody's looking at you like, girl, what? You need therapy.
Because if me and you were friends when you were married, I would be looking at you horrifically when you would tell me about how you and your ex-husband used to box.
Yeah. Lit that living room up, baby. We ain't getting none of our deposits back.
Y'all trying to patch up holes and shit.
We getting plaster. Shit, they knew what the fuck was going on when they came in there. Oh yeah, that's somebody's head. That's I know a forehead hole when I see one. Sorry, y'all. I better listen into this. It might be triggers. I can laugh at it now. Y'all knew who this
Oh, we
was.
forgot to give a trigger warning at the
We
beginning of this
did.
show. Some of these things might trigger you, but that's why it's called laugh therapy. You gotta laugh to keep from crying sometimes, and it helps to talk about it. Seriously,
I can laugh at my
this
story now.
yeah, you can laugh now, and I can chuckle now. For real though, when you start to talk about these things out in the open, it provides a sort of freedom that you can share your story and you can get support from other people. So that's just my little tangent that I went off on real quick. Brittany Finley said, "Hey y'all."
Hey, Brittany.
Hey Brittany. Brum, 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 brum. Okay, so the next question is, how can survivors create a safe space for themselves during the healing process?
Ooh, and it's so important too.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. Creating a safe space. First, you have to figure out what a safe space looks like for you, because I feel like after experiencing something super traumatic, like going into a domestic, like being in a domestic violence situation or being sexually assaulted, um, you start to question those things happen from people who you thought loved you in most cases. It's usually not a stranger, right?
Mm.
Especially in domestic violence, almost never. But
Mm-hmm.
even sexual assaults is usually not a stranger that does this to you. So figuring out what makes you feel safe and if people at all make you feel safe in that moment is so important. There are times for me where another human, like my mom or like my partner, will make me feel safe. But there are also times where the safest space for me is in my bed by myself or in the shower by myself. I don't need interaction at all. I just need to be by myself. So I think what's important about self-care and finding those safe spaces, firstly, is figuring out what is safe. Because it's hard to explain. In those situations, you start to question your own thoughts, right? So it can be a lot of people who are going through a domestic violence situation don't have good friends.
Yes.
They don't
Agreed.
have good friends. They don't have solid friends. Or they have friends who might tell them to leave, but aren't going
Put
to
it in
do anything to
action.
actually, assist you or anything like that. You got yourself in that situation type, so it can be really hard to figure out what is safe, because you just going to find somebody to talk to doesn't make you safe. You still got to go home to that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? um, I think what's most important is when you know that you're ready to leave those situations, or if you are already out of those situations, figuring out what feels good to you. Because
Mm-hmm.
in those situations, a lot of times you've lost yourself. You've only been interested in your partner's interest for a while because they would always blow up, or they were physical, or they were whatever. You may not have your own interest or your own, identity for a while. And I would say start creating those self-care moments for yourself unapologetically. Like going to, whether it's something superficial, like going to get your hands and your nails done. You may not be one of those girlies, but you'll figure it out when you go and you get it done and you're like, yeah, this ain't for me. It was worth, the experience. Go and get a massage, go and watch a movie by yourself, go and have dinner by yourself, go try something completely different that you would never order at a restaurant, and just figure out, you might be like, damn, I really like this. And I would have never tried. Just doing those things that put you in situations where you're safe, but a little bit uncomfortable. I feel like start creating safe spaces and creating things that make you feel good in rebuilding yourself and that identity. Your
Oh,
identity.
we got a lot of comments here.
Oh, yeah.
So Keely said, create unapologetic boundaries with people who aren't supportive and not making you feel safe and protected. So
Oh, yes. That's
I'm
a
just
hard
gonna
one.
go
I think
through and work through some of these comments. And that is one of the things that I had to learn in this healing process that I'm doing right now, because I thought that just as a general, my family would be a safe space, and learning some people's mindset and how it made me feel when they didn't do certain things, and then when they did do certain things, how it made me feel. I had to learn that, okay, not everybody, even though you're blood and you're supposed to feel safe and protected around these people, not everybody is your safe space in your family. But I will say I have found my tribe of people, and you done joined in on the group chat. Ayana's here listening today, and Javon is listening. I hope you get to comment, Vaughn. But those two right there, those have been my dogs, man. And just getting like, and our biggest rule in our group chats is this is a safe space. So we're allowed to be and say and think and feel without any judgment, and it feels so comforting. Hey, Jazzy. Jazzy's here too. So I think that has been a really good step in the process for me as well. Just finding kind of like your tribe within your tribe. And then the next one was from, let's see, Brittany. She said, my safe space came from reading and writing, isolating and working through these emotions alone before interacting with others.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you got to be away from people and just be by yourself.
Right,
sometimes you
right.
can't find a safe space in other people. And I know that can be really difficult for people who don't feel comfortable being alone for a while. So there are different ways, it's a different process based on your own personal experience and who you are. But yeah, that was me. I was like, I needed to be by myself. I didn't trust nobody.
So like when I am working through something, I have to isolate, because the way that I try to explain it to other people is when something happens that really bothers me or that isn't right, I have to feel all the emotions, but they all come in like all tangled up and like necklaces, in your jewelry box where you got a big ball of necklaces and they're all tangled up. So I have to isolate to try to untangle each feeling individually and process it. And that's where I find myself when something initially happens or something makes me feel some type of way. I have to isolate. And that is, it's harder to do when you got dogs and a family and kids and a spouse. So I just have to find my own zone. Like I had to put my headphones on and start cleaning and just think and unravel everything. So that's a part of like my safe space when I need to process. So initially I have to have that process period where I isolate, but then writing helps as well. But I got to be really down bad for me to write. And I should probably be better at it because I think I'm a good writer. But I've really got to be down bad if I'm writing out my feelings. That means my brain can't process it on its own. So yeah, that's just a part of my process. And then Ayana said, true that not everyone is a safe space in your family. And let me tell you, it hurts. It really does. You would think that they would be your biggest supporters, but they aren't. It is very, very true. And it's unfortunate because
like
I think
rejection.
Sometimes, yes. And you know how I am about rejection. But I think sometimes family thinks that they have to pick a side. And it shouldn't be that. It should be, how can I help best support you from what you've been through. Not call people shit starters or say these people are outsiders or just whatever speech you have to say. Anything negative should be immediately disbarred from your mind. I think we should have a whole show on how to support trauma victims. That might be next week.
This is what support looks like.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not one dimensional either. It doesn't look just one way because everybody's different on how you can support them. But I can guarantee you gossiping ain't it. If we're going to talk about ratings on a radio show. Let's see what Keeley said. They said, talk about that exact thing in grief counseling, Jess. They related to a huge rubber band ball of a bunch of emotions. That is correct. My balled up necklace analogy, I'm going to take that one to the grave with me. I love it. And Brittany said, some family members can be the biggest triggers. Oh, Engineer, can we get a burr, 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 burr? Some family members can be the biggest triggers. Yes.
A word.
Some of you niggas, it's because we love you. You wouldn't trigger us if we ain't love you. And that's what they say. The only people that can hurt you in life are people that you love and care for. Because if you don't love and care for somebody, your walls are not down. Your heart is not open. So they have no chance at hurting you in that particular kind of manner. In a physical manner, obviously they can hurt you, but I'm saying in emotional or mental capacity. So that is why those can be the biggest triggers, is because we trust you, nigga. Sorry. I had to walk through that. And Jazzy said, it be the closest ones that are the biggest enemies. I won't even say they're the biggest enemies. I feel like some people just go along to get along because they love everybody and want everybody to get along, and they don't know what message it is sending to the other
ones
people
that are being wrong.
Yes, the ones that are being wrong
equally, but no one gets corrected by when I'm being injured. Then you don't love us equally. You love that person more because you're okay with them hurting me. That's not okay.
Right, and that's what I don't think they understand. And that's why I said we should have a show on how to best support survivors of trauma. Is because they don't know what message it sends to the people who have been wronged. We don't feel supported when you are still fucking with the person that fucked us up. Oh man, we got a lot of comments today. Keely said there is also pressure from other family members to just get over it. That there isn't with strangers to keep the appearance of united family versus holding people accountable. Brr, 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 brr. I had to do that shit myself.
Whew. Y'all are in today. Let's move on to the next question, Mitt.
Okay.
And you don't have to go in order. You can go random.
Yeah. What are some common emotional reactions after leaving an abusive relationship?
Continuing the abuse yourself. And that goes for all of them. That goes for narcissistic abuse. That was one that I kind of took with me. I took some of his traits because I was so busy mirroring him to make sure that he could see how stupid you fucking look. You know, like I just started coming up with my own fucking stories too, bitch. Like, don't do that. I was like, nah, you told me you'd be home at 3. And he's like, that don't even make sense. Yes, it don't. You I have never come home at 3. Why would I come home at 3 today? You're a son. Yeah, I could be crazy too, nigga. Don't. So
that's where it comes from.
Start matching. Yeah, some narcissistic abuse victims just start mirroring and can end up leaving with some of those traits. And I was one of those victims. Some domestic violence abuse victims leave and start hitting the person that they're with or whatever. They just kind of continue that cycle because now they're in their fight or flight. Right. Now they're in their fight or flight, and every time you raise your voice at them, they're triggered and, oh, that's what it is. Let's get ready to rumble. Right. Sexual abuse victims, it's higher in them as well. If you were sexually abused, for you to sexual abuse another. So yeah, I forgot the question. What's the question? Oh,
What are
emotional
some?
responses.
Yeah.
That's one of the main ones, is to mirror the abuse. And then I would say the two main ones that I've witnessed just in my circle, and then of course in myself, some people shut down completely, like go into like a depression or become really scared, anxious inside. And then others become the person that wouldn't have let that happen to them. So they become their own superwoman, or their own person that would have saved them, or the person that would have killed that person or beat that person's ass. They become this really hard, exteriorly at least, this really hard person, and protector. So I feel like those are the first ones, but I feel like there are several ways to answer that question. I'm sorry, my ADHD brain is kicking in.
Go ahead.
Because the other way to answer that would just be to go through the grief symptoms of when you're surviving it. Like you said, sometimes you don't know it was wrong if you were young, but let's assume we're all in the healing phase, and so we're adults now. When it comes to all of those abuses, when it's over, you don't want to believe that you are the type of person that allowed that to happen. Like there's just this part of you that's kind of like, how was I so dumb to, whether it was sexual assault, to put myself in that situation, or when you got, if it was domestic violence, to trigger them that badly, or what did I do to deserve that? Or if it was narcissistic abuse, how could I be so dumb to believe, or why did I ignore my signs? Like you go through this weird it's not self-hating, it's just like God, I don't know how to explain it, because I know I'm smart, but I'm looking at myself like, you dumb bitch. Like, I don't know how to, like it's just, It's a little frustrating for yourself, because it's like, damn, you're remembering who you were before that person. And it's like, I would have never thought that I would have allowed myself to do that. I would have never thought that I'd be in the predicament that I'm in now. Right. And also there's, well, who can I call and who can I count on? Because in a lot of those situations, you either don't feel safe, or you've isolated yourself away from family members. When dealing with a narcissist or someone who's in domestic abuse, in a lot of those situations, they have cornered you to where they became your everything for a while. And now you don't even know who you can call, who's going to really come and show up for you, who's going to pick you up, because you ain't talked to them in so long.
Right.
So there are those emotions that come with that as well. There's abandonment, or just feeling alone, which can sometimes force you back into the relationship, because you really feel like that person is the only person who cares about you. Like, yeah, they hit me, but they love me type shit. That's how you come to that logic, because who else do you call? When you were getting ready to leave them, who were you going to call? And you didn't have anybody to call. So you're facing that emotion as well. There's those. I would say those are the immediate emotions immediately after something like that happens. When you're older, as an adult, not speaking as a child, but as an adult, those are the immediate emotions that I myself can admit that I had, and friends that I've had who have gone through it all have at one point or another gone through those emotions.
I've never been in an abusive relationship, so I give with you in others, and those are very common responses. Why are you looking at me like?
Your sound started coming in really weird, like robotic, but also, didn't you say one of your ex-girlfriends tackled you in your living room and your arms went limp or something on one of the shows?
We weren't even in a relationship then. Oh
that
man,
still sounds like domestic violence to me.
I forgot about that. That
I
was a hell
we
of a
didn't,
story.
listeners.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. You didn't, nigga.
Now, you said your arms went limp, and ever since then, I just been picturing you laying there with real limp arms, and some girl just pecking your ass.
That is not how it happened.
That's how I picture it in my head every time. Your arms went limp. That's the worst thing to go limp in a fight, bitch. Like,
yeah. Nah, my arms and my legs were cramping. So every time I tried to do anything, like my fingers, everything was cramping. Like I was just cramping everywhere. Because I had just got done playing like 5 hours worth of basketball. But
I'd have been like, bitch, hold on, I'm gonna eat this whole thing of bananas and then I'm gonna work your ass.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
Gonna work you to sleep. I won't be the only victim. I swear.
There
to
wasn't
God.
no hold on. There wasn't no
Hold on,
hold on.
Gonna eat these bananas and then Donkey Kong the shit out your ass. Anyway, what's the next question, dude?
How what is the importance of boundary setting in the healing process?
Ooh, it's so important. I would say boundary setting and self-care are probably two of the most important parts of your healing journey. Knowing how to recognize the flags or the signs that make you uncomfortable, because it's usually your mind and your body being in cohesion and letting you know that they're uncomfortable. So recognizing the signs and the red flags that make you feel uncomfortable and then setting hard boundaries with those people is so important to making sure that you don't end up repeating the cycle and ending up right back in a relationship where the exact same things happen. And I feel like that goes for any type of failed relationship, whether it was domestic violence or whether he was just cheating. Just those red flags and those gut feelings that you have, and being able to set those boundaries and say, hey, based on my past experiences and with my exes or whatnot, those things make me uncomfortable, or this makes me uncomfortable. Because if your partner wants to be with you and they understand you and you know, like, I feel like they'll be able to show you by respecting those boundaries and making sure it'll be important to them that you feel safe.
I agree.
So I think boundary setting is one of the most important parts of your healing process.
Boundary setting is very important, especially when I can't speak for anyone else's experience, but from my experience, boundary setting was very, very important because I was a people pleaser. And I didn't know how to say no. And I didn't know how to say, you're not going to treat me like that. Just because you're my elder, or just because I respect you, you're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to say things about this other person who I love just because you think you can when it's not right. And just the word no, I'm not going to do that, or no, I'm not comfortable with that. So that is one thing that I had to learn in my healing process is I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable to make you comfortable. I think that's what started it all for me. Like, that was the first domino in the microcosm of dominoes for me, is I had to learn to be comfortable in my skin, whether it made you uncomfortable or not. Because you love me, and who I am should not make you uncomfortable. If you love me, if you fuck with me like you say you do, it shouldn't make you uncomfortable. Because you should love all of me, scars and all, just like I love you, scars and all. So like I said, that was the first domino for me. It was boundary setting, just because I was a people pleaser. Like, it was wild. It was wild.
I'm so glad you agree with it.
Yeah. The word no, and I don't have
I don't like
capacity.
hearing the word no, but I'm
I
still
know.
grateful when you do, because I'm like, she all good with
I don't have
it.
capacity. I didn't pass that on to my sister. I don't know if my sister listening. She'll hit us with that real quick. But yeah. And I'm so grateful I found it, because it's allowed me to have space for myself. Because when you trying to people please here, there, and
I remember the
everywhere,
first time I heard you start using the lingo. We all turned, and not all of us, but I remember turning and looking at you when you started using words like "I don't have capacity," or what was the other? We had another saying that me and Nee would say all the time, and you started saying it too. I don't remember. Oh, I'm not available for that.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. You started not abusing them, but using them quite
I think
often with your family members and friends, and we were like, look at you setting boundaries.
my favorite saying, and y'all, and anybody who's listening, y'all can use it. Is, oh, that's not what we not finna do that today. That's what we not finna do. I don't know if it's grammatically incorrect, but y'all can steal it. How can survivors rebuild their self-esteem and self-worth?
So for me, I started playing a game with myself recently, and I'm gonna go back and answer the question, but I started playing a game with myself recently when it comes to building my mental health. And the brain, I don't know why, but it like automatically stops when you ask it to do what it is you're asking it to do. Like it just thinks, because that's what a brain does. But if you ask it, what's my next thought? Your brain goes kind of empty. It just pauses for a second because it's like, wait, what? So when I'm manifesting something now, or when I'm doing my affirmations, I say something that I want, or something I desire, or something that I believe to be true about myself. Like I am amazing. I'm absolutely amazing. What's my next thought? And my brain can't counteract that. My brain doesn't then come in with a note behind you like, oh no, you're not amazing, or girl, you're doing the most. Like you normally talk to yourself in your head. My brain doesn't know to do that, because as soon as I ask myself, what's my next thought? My brain's like, So the last thing that I told myself, or that I told my brain, was that I'm amazing. And then it just froze there. That's it. So that's been a fun game to play with myself. And I feel like it's really helped, because I feel like I've been waking up just the best part of waking up. I've got so much confidence in my cup, y'all.
She
I'm
ain't
playing
lying.
that game.
I be sitting on the toilet, and she don't even know I'm there. I am beautiful. I am
so
gorgeous. Yes. And I
Oh
just
my
be sitting
God.
there nodding. Yes, you are, baby. Yeah.
I am. So I think that is a great practice if any of you guys want to steal that. But also surrounding yourself with dreamers, for me, is helpful. But surrounding yourself with your people, with people who are encouraging, people who are not jealous, people who are kind, people who you feel safe and loved around, is also helpful, because people will often point out things about yourself that you didn't even recognize were things that you should be proud of.
Mm.
Like I have people compliment me on my light all the time. You're just a light. You have so much light when you enter a room. We're just talking to you, and oh my God, you're such a light. You don't hear stuff like that if you're not around people. You can't just be a light at home. Don't nobody know. Right? So finding your people who are attracted to your energy, they're usually able to tell you. Kind people are usually more vocal about what they love about you, and when you're feeling down or doubtful in yourself, they'll usually be able to uplift you as well. But also, just I feel like just saying love yourself is not it's not an easy task for people to do.
Honestly, what does that mean when you say
Right. I was like, I'm
love
trying
yourself? It's such a nuanced answer.
I feel like when I tell people to love themselves, what I really mean is learn yourself.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the language isn't correct when I say love yourself. What I really mean is learn yourself. Because
Yeah.
if you have started to doubt if you doubt how amazing you are, you don't know you. That's just how I feel. If you don't feel like you're beautiful, you're not looking at you the right way. If you don't feel like you're smart, you're not thinking of yourself the right way. If you don't feel like you are brilliant, you are not putting yourself in the right areas and in the right places and around the right people to bring out your brilliance, because there's a reason that you're here. There is a reason that you exist. So when I say love yourself, I mean learn yourself. Learn what's special about you. Learn what's bright about you. Learn what you love. Learn what you're passionate about. And when you find that, I guarantee you will find the love for yourself. But you can't do that sitting at home hoping that somebody else loves you, because you haven't learned yourself to love yourself. You haven't learned what there is to love yet. You're just hoping that they love this lost, flapping in the wind ass human, and you need to go and focus and learn yourself. That's what I mean. When I say love yourself, I mean learn yourself. Focus on you and figure out what makes you you. What makes you different than you. Learn yourself. And that's how you build your confidence. You focus on you. Hello? Can you hear me, babe? Where everybody go? Hot 702. The timer's still going, and it says I'm still connected, but I don't see no comments, and I can't hear myself no more. So can y'all still hear me? Anywho, when it comes to learning yourself, I know that it can be difficult as well. Because I feel like as adults, I don't know why finding friends became so, I don't know when finding friends became so difficult. Everybody acts like they too good for friends, when in reality, everybody also wants friends. You just scared people don't want to be your friend, so nobody's making friends. When in reality, if you look at all these other adults, they want to be your friend. They want friends too. Y'all out here acting like y'all don't want to be nobody's friend, and y'all do. Anyway, I feel like finding your circle, your people are where you want to be. So if you want friends to go to the movies with, start going to the movies by yourself. You may end up finding some super dope people who are also going to the movies by themselves, or a group of people that you just really hit it off with, and now y'all are chilling and hanging out, and boom, you just made some friends. If you like painting, go to Paint and Sip, because the people that you want to hang out with are in the places that you want to hang out at. So go make friends that are doing the things that you want to do. And the friends that right now that you can't depend on to go where you want to go, get new friends. Or, I mean, I'm not saying like you got to cut them off. I'm just saying get friends that want to go do those things. Go find new friends. Go anyway while learning yourself. It's important. It's so important. What else? I was just trying to think of some things to tell y'all on your healing journey. If you guys have any ways that have specifically worked for you, you don't know who's all on here watching the comments and whatnot, so definitely drop those in the comments. Brittany, I'm sure your way helped with some people who were like, oh, I didn't think to write down my feelings. Yeah. My therapist used to tell me to write an email, write an email to people that I don't like, but don't, of course, don't send the email, don't put their email in the thingy, or write an email to them. But I'm a Leo, so of course I always took it to the next level. And I would either send them a text that said half the shit I wanted to say in the email, or I would send the email from like an anonymous account. Like, bitch, you know who the fuck it is though, because I'm not the person you're dealing with on this situation. I was like, but I gotta say what I gotta say. I couldn't just let it go. Heal better. Heal better than I did at that time. I was young. I'm trying to think what the other question was. There was another question that I specifically had on healing journeys, but I think it's really important when healing. Oh, there you are, baby love. Are you back?
I think so. How y'all doing? Where do we leave off? How can survivors?
Into friends.
Oh. Okay.
Choosing better friends. Ask a question about friendships. Shit.
I, uh, how can survivors identify red flags in new relationships?
Ooh, well, we kind of touched on that. I feel like it's a learned experience. You don't know what you don't know, but you can feel, and trusting your instinct is definitely important, because there were red flags that you ignored in the first place, whether we want to admit it or not. When we're going through and we're acknowledging how we ended up in these abusive relationships, whether it was domestic, narcissistic, or sexual, there usually is a sign that we ignore. We choose to trust somebody that's a little sketchy. We choose to ignore when they said something weird. We choose to ignore that, you know, he's super aggressive or whatever it is. Um, and to not repeat the cycle, I think we oftentimes need to listen to ourselves and listen to our inner gut, listen to our inner spirit when something is off, and also to believe ourselves, believe believe in our ability to discern. Because oftentimes when that red flag pops back up, you're like, oh, but this person isn't that person, right? You start trying to make excuses. Um, you start trying to make excuses for yourself, and sometimes you just need to trust your gut, trust yourself. Um, yeah. What about you?
Um, I would say in a new relationship, if you seeing red flags in a new relationship and they not even trying to hide those, they really are, honestly. And not everybody is gonna have green flags throughout. Everybody's going to have a cautionary flag here and there. Nobody's perfect, right?
But the
So
but
you
the
have to
question
just
is how to identify them, right? But red flags would be different for different people, right? Because
that's
some
true.
people's red flag may be somebody else's green flag. Somebody opening the door for somebody who's traditional is a green flag, but somebody opening the door for somebody who's a feminist is a red flag. So identifying, in order to identify red flags, you have to first identify your boundaries. You have to
Yes.
identify you. You still need to learn you before you can learn what you want and what you deserve, so that you can set those boundaries and identify the red flags once you've set the boundary. A major red flag is someone not being able to respect your boundaries. And in order to set boundaries, you need to know what your boundaries are. So I feel like identifying red flags would take you back to the question of how do you um not how do you heal, how do you, there was another question earlier about it. Damn, I lost it. um how you set your boundaries would technically result back to how you learn yourself. That's what I was getting back to, because you have to learn what works for you and what doesn't, right? Do you
Right.
agree?
Hmm. What are some strategies for building trust in new friendships or relationships? Oh, we got a phone call.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, how you doing? I'm outside for the interview. I just don't know what tweet it.
Hello? You are
Hello.
on with Laugh Therapy. Who are we speaking with?
No, I'm here for the radio show with MVP.
Oh, she coming on in just a few minutes, brother.
Okay.
That brother said he is on time.
Yeah, I love the punctuality. I love the punctuality.
He on next episode. I'm sure that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Because he was red tea, honey.
What are some strategies for building trust in new friendships or relationships?
Hmm. I would think setting boundaries, because it'll let you know if you can trust your friend or not. It'll let you know if your friend is for you or not. If your friend can't respect your boundaries, if your family members can't respect your boundaries, if your new boyfriend can't respect your boundaries, everybody can go. That's just, and when you are recovering and you are going through grief and you are healing from something as traumatic as abuse, I just feel like your boundaries are so critical and so vital to your safety that anyone who cannot respect them in that moment, it's not good for your health. It's not good for your mental health and is not supportive. I feel like that's a loose string that could send you down a very slippery slope. So yeah, anyone who can't respect your boundaries is not a good friend to have around when recovering from trauma. Friends who bring you more drama than they do truth, or bring you more negativity than they do help or positivity. Friends who call you when they need you to give them an answer, but don't call you with any answers or just to check on you or see if you're okay. All of those are probably not good places to start when it comes to trying to build new and better friendships, in my opinion. How about for you?
How can survivors support their friends and partners who may also be dealing with trauma?
You didn't want to answer the last question?
I agreed with you. My bad. I forgot to say that.
Oh. I was like, dang. What was the next question?
How can survivors support their friends and partners who may also be dealing with trauma?
Because that can be pretty interesting. You got to make sure you're not to form a trauma bond. But by listening is a good starting point. And then communicating and asking how they would like to be supported is important as well, because sometimes the way that they want to be supported is not the way that you would think to support. Like you said earlier, sometimes they want to isolate and you're thinking, no, like I'm your friend, bring me in, talk to me. And that can make them push away. Or sometimes they need you and they want you there, but they don't necessarily want, to talk or whatever. They just need your presence. And we need you to respect that, at the same time as well. So, yeah, I'd say those like that.
I would just say you never want to assume how someone can feel supported. So I would say if you are a friend trying to support another friend or a partner trying to support your partner, family member, just ask, how do you best feel supported? And you might be surprised at the answer. It could be something very simple or it could be something very complex. But not everyone is the same. So just to be on the safe side, just ask, because your version of support might not be the same as theirs. And you want to get it right if you care. So it's funny because I had this conversation with my cousins the other day, and I asked them how do they best feel supported. And they was like, dang, that's a good question. I never thought of that. So and some people haven't even thought of an answer for that question, which is surprising as well. Just let you know how many people don't think about themselves like that. So start asking yourself, what does support look like to you and how do you best feel supported? And B, start asking your loved ones, families, friends, spouses, people that you care about and want to support, what does support, how do they best feel supported? So I think we got 1 minute left. So, babe, you can go ahead and wrap it up.
That hour went on by pretty doggone quickly, but I know we also had some in-studio issues for a second. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Laugh Therapy. Be sure to do so every Thursday at 4 PST. Yes, I don't know why I have to say PST every time, but yes, 4 PST, 6 Central every week on Thursday. If you are in the San Antonio area, please be sure to stop by my show tonight at 7:30 at Upstage Comedy Lounge. You can also buy your Fuck Them Kids t-shirts at kingmeetcomedy.com and follow me on all social media platforms at King Me Comedy. Tell them where to find you, baby love.
JSD Sunshine 4 on Instagram.
Y'all already know what it is. We'll see y'all next week on Laugh Therapy. Bye-bye.